Sam, she has been at Reliance since 2011. She is married to her high school sweetheart, Kyle. They have 4 kids together, ages 5 and under. You're a saint, is what that means. They also have a lot of animals and have rescued anything from pigs to dogs to hawks. Sam is a stay-at-home mom and is homeschooling. She loves to organize and clean, so she's here to encourage you and give you some tips and tricks on how to keep a home clean with a clean heart. Aubrey Jones, she's going to be your second speaker. She's been attending Reliance since 2013. She's been married for almost 11 years to her firefighter husband. They have 2 girls, 7 and 4. Aubrey has a business admin degree and is also a Dave Ramsey certified master financial coach. She's going to share some of the most common money problems that are ruining your family's finances and her personal tips to expose and fix the problem areas. Kelsey Baldwin, who's going to be our third speaker, she's been married to Jordan, her husband, for 10 years. They have 2 kids. Haven is 6, almost 6 this month. Titus is 3, and they have been attending Reliance since 2011. She stays at home and homeschools. Kelsey serves in the media and tech worship team, and worship. She has served in Moms Inspired for 6 years. She loves to cook and considers herself a foodie. She becomes passionate about meal planning she became passionate about meal planning early in her marriage when they had no money and no time. So let's bring up Sam. Does she use this one, Kels? Oh, it's on already for you. I don't think so.
Use this one. Okay. I brought all my stuff with me. Okay. So I'm going to try to hurry up and get through this. I feel like I have so much that I want to share with you, and I don't want to go over. But organization is my life. As she said, I have a lot of kids and a bunch of animals. So, like you said, I'm a saint. Where's Jenny? She said I'm super mom. I'm not super mom at all. And that's why I want to let you guys know that cleaning can be easy and it can be fun. Like, I'm looking at your faces and you're like, oh, yay. Like, we're going to talk about cleaning and organizing. Like, okay. So, but let's go back to the animal thing really quick. Like, random people will just tell me, I just want to get this out here. I don't need your 3-toed guinea pig, okay? Or, like, people will just call me and be like, you need this animal? But I say yes, because that's why I have so many. But, and that's why I'm here, Jessica, because I don't say no. Okay, so, all right. So to be honest, I actually come from a long line of clean freaks. Are there any, like, cleaning people? Yeah? Okay, naturally. All right, so, like, my mom, my grandma, everyone in my family, naturally clean. Me, to be honest with you, I was like a slob, like, for the longest time, because I feel like I had everybody, like, my mom cleaned for me. And so I'm not, like, a naturally tidy person. But 5 years ago, I decided that I wanted to change things and just simplify my life. And so a lot of that came with just using methods that my grandma used. So I do a lot of, like, DIY cleaning stuff, like the old school, just simple, right? So I learned from my grandma that being a good homemaker or organizer, cleaner, even cook, everything that we're going to be talking about today, it's not so much about having a clean home, but it's about loving others well. And so that's the first step that we need to do, is, like, check our hearts and see what we need to do to clean our heart, and see, like, when people say, like, oh, I hate laundry, but so a man thinketh, so is he, right? So if you keep telling yourself that, then you're going to hate it. So, and I don't know. I don't know if I can change your heart on laundry, but I'm going to try. So, like, I want to tell you just a quick story. My husband, we started doing, like, the Marie Kondo, even though I've been doing cleaning and organizing for a while. I started cleaning out our closet, and I started doing his side of the closet. So let me warn you, if you guys are not there and you're just starting your journey on organizing, do not do that, because we almost got divorced. I'm just kidding. But, like, seriously, though, like, really, like, you can't, like, stress out about this stuff. And I want to talk really quick. I have a slide on a book that really helped me. It's called Having a Martha Home the Mary Way by Sarah May. Has anybody read that one? I just have it on my phone because it's not another thing to get, but it's a devotion. And it talks about, obviously, Mary and Martha, which comes from Luke in chapter 10. And basically Martha is like the mom that's like, clean the house. People are coming over, like stressed out, sweating, like just freaking out, right, the whole time. And then even when people are there, she's still like cleaning dishes, not even really enjoying the company that she has because she's like so stressed out. And then there's Mary, who is just sitting at the feet of Jesus and soaking in his wisdom. So basically this is a tool that kind of helps you do both. She gives you, it's a 31 days to a clean house and satisfied soul. So it has a devotion and then it gives you like a task. So if you're just starting out, that's a really good tool to use. Okay, so let's hop into it. I just want to go over, like, again, I don't have that much stuff, but my arsenal of cleaning supplies. I really love microfiber. Does anybody in here like microfiber? Okay, so there's a bunch of different types out there, different quality. I like Norwex. I like supporting moms that sell it. So I do have some Norwex. I also have these that are from Amazon. They're really affordable, and like it's so much better than using paper towels. Like if you guys are still using paper towels, stop. Like these are the best. You can use them to take your makeup off. You can use them to clean your car, clean your everything. These are so awesome, and they clean really nice as long as you take care of them. And I can talk about that more in a little bit. Okay, so microfiber, what you want to do, does everybody know the S pattern? Have you heard of that? Okay, so you want to do the S pattern because if you just are like wiping in circles, you're just going to keep getting the dirt everywhere. And what I like to do, you can just use water for these. Like they have, you just put water on it and then you wipe it off with your window cloth. But what I do, I actually make my own spray. Again, it's not hard at all. You just get a bottle, and we printed off recipes for you guys. So we have like your DIY cleaner. This one I like because there's so many you can find on like Pinterest and YouTube. But then you have like 50 different spray bottles for different things, and I don't have time for that. So this is a good one because you can literally on like your counters, you can use it on your floors, you can use it on your mirrors, like literally everything on your all-purpose cleaning spray. The only thing is that there is vinegar, which is another thing I use a lot. Okay. So vinegar, this is in the cleaning spray. You can use this, like you can see, I go through tubs of this stuff because you can use it from your laundry softener to, like there's so many different things. But you do not want to use this on laminate. If you guys have laminate, this is not good. So I have that on your recipe as well. A lot of people use like hardwood cleaner on your laminate, that will leave the haze. So just to talk about that. So really quick, vinegar, this stuff, there's like actual cleaning grade vinegar. I don't know if you guys knew that, but it's like 5 to 10%. This one is 5%, and I think it works fine. So, all right. And then the next thing that I use a lot is baking powder. You can use this to like whiten your teeth. You can use this in your laundry. Like again, it has everything like on the back stuff that you can use it for. But this is another key ingredient. And then soap is another thing. So I like cast iron soap. This is the Dr. Bronner. She came actually, like, was anybody there for that? Okay, that was such a good workshop. So you can use this on everything too. So it's again, you don't want to have a unitasker. Just you can have all these things to have in your pocket for multiple things. Okay, so that's what I use. I don't know how I'm doing on time, but then also rubbing alcohol is really good, and hydrogen peroxide, and you can also use that for like your kids' cuts and scrapes as well. Okay, so let's talk about mops. Does anybody like to mop? Nobody likes to mop. Okay, well, was that one person? Is that Sue? Okay, we have one person that likes to, okay, okay, cool. Okay, so in that devotion, this is something that I learned. One of the tasks was to get on your hands and knees and scrub your floors. I was like, what? Like, no, I'm not doing that. But I did it, and it was so therapeutic. Like, I don't know how to, it was weird, I know. I had a moment, and it's changed my vision on mopping because you're actually working and you're using your hands for the Lord, and it was awesome. So just trust me, hear it out, hear me out. Don't, Okay, I'm going to lose so many of you right now. Okay, I'm just going to go. Where's Kelsey? You can go. I'm just kidding. Okay, all right. So let's talk about mops. So there's flathead mops. Does anybody have a flathead mop? Okay, so there's the dry one and the wet one. I love those. Those are good for your everyday mopping. But I also love, there's one called O-Cedar. And it's really cheap. It's like, I think 30 or 40 bucks, but I use it all the time because of the amount of mess that I have in my house. You can get it at Sam's Club, and you can actually, it's like a full-on mop. And you can also use it to scrub if you want. But the O-Cedar mop and then your flathead mops, you can use your spray to clean your floors. Okay, so what you need to do, let's talk about my schedule. I already have all the recipes and stuff. I won't go over that. You guys can just go through it if you want. Also, magic erasers are awesome too for anything. Baseboards, magic erasers are your best friend. Okay, so with cleaning and organizing, we know that the less stuff we have, the less stuff we have to do, right? So I feel like this is just an overall good principle to have. And so that's what I personally like. I feel like if I have less clothes, then I can't let it go pile up for weeks and weeks and weeks and then stress myself out by trying to clean it up. So the less stuff we have, the less stuff we have to organize. So what I do is I have a schedule. I post a lot on my Insta stories and Facebook. And surprisingly, a lot of people, I don't know if you like watching it, but not actually doing it. It kind of helps you not have to do it because you're watching somebody else clean. But I like it. For me, it's inspiring. So hear me out, people that are free spirits. Hear me out. It's a schedule, but try it, stick to it. And what I do is I set a timer. Okay, so if you think about how much time we have in a day, everyone has the same amount of time. If you look to see what you're actually doing, let's say you wake up at 7 a.m. and you go to bed at 7 p.m. We all know that we are awake much longer. That's 12 hours, okay? So we can make the time to do 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes a day of cleaning to make it easier in the long run so we're not having to build up and do a bunch all at once. Again, this works for me. So I'm a stay-at-home mom. I have 4 kids. We're home 90% of the time. So this schedule is something that works for me. If you guys are only home for 10% of the time, then you're gonna have to make your own schedule that works for you. But okay, what do we got? Okay, so this is my daily, what I like to do. Obviously, just make your bed. If you have plants, a lot of people are how many people can't keep a plant alive? I promise you, okay, if you just work on one plant, a lot of people try succulents and you're I could even kill a succulent. I've heard so many people say that. Okay, try mint. Mint, you cannot kill. I dare you. Just try it. Go out and get a plant and it will make you, I promise you, it's something that you have to take care of. And I feel like it just makes your house feel naturally, cleaner, and it's something you have to take care of. So that's the one thing I do. Water your plants, take out your trash. These are all things you do daily. Then on Mondays, we can go to that. For me, I like to do my living room because I feel like the weekend just gets crazy. There's stuff random socks. We like to just get Mondays our living area, which includes our homeschooling area, all that. So a little tip with dusting. Have you guys ever heard of this? When you turn your air conditioner on, you set it onto the fan mode, and that's going to take all the dust up into the filter so you don't have to have dust everywhere. And then you get it onto your floors, and then it's why did I even dust? So what I do is I set my air conditioning mode onto fan mode, and then I dust. Okay, so then I clean under the couch, just little things. And if you can't get to it, it's okay. But one load of laundry every day is going to make your life so much easier. And I'll get to that later. So some of you, is anybody tuning me out? Okay, because the schedule. Okay. All right, so let's see. I just use my microfibers. So same thing, I use that. And then I also have a carpet cleaner one in there. All you do is add baking soda to that, and that's gonna react with the vinegar and create a foaming. So you can use that for carpet, or you can use it for your cushions. So, all right, and then Tuesdays, let's go to Tuesdays, bathroom day, which may not work for you guys because you're here, but I still did it when I came here. I would just go home because my kids were super tired, and I did bathrooms. if you guys use this stuff, cast iron, that you'll know. Does anybody use this? It actually creates like soap scum, like really any soap does. But if you're using a daily shower cleaner, then that will prevent that. And I have the recipe on that as well. So that's one thing you don't have to clean. You don't have to clean your showers because it's already done every day. Toilets. I hate toilets. The tub and tile. No, do I not have a daily shower cleaner on there? Oh, well, sorry, you guys can't do that. I'll post it. I'll post it for you guys. But it's the same ingredients, so big shocker there. Okay, so, and then also with the mirrors too, like, I don't know about you guys, but mirrors, I feel like they get so, like, I don't like that hazy on that. This recipe does not leave, even with the, like, essential oil in it, it doesn't leave that haziness on there. Okay, so Wednesdays, let's go to that because I'm running out of time. I do like declutter challenges. Sometimes I'll post like, okay, like who wants to declutter with me? There's so many things we could do, like our pantry, linen closets, junk drawer. But if you guys don't want to do that, that's okay. Use that day to catch up on laundry. That's what I do. Like most of the time, I'm like, okay, if I'm behind, then I can catch up on Wednesdays. And again, I'm doing the whole point of the schedule is so you can have time, choose more time to spend with your families and do things that you want to do because it's only for a short amount of time. You're setting a timer and you're just getting through it. Okay, so Thursdays, I do our bedrooms. We vacuum, clean baseboards every other week. And I'm a firm believer in making my kids learn how to clean because, again, like, I feel like my mom just did a lot of it for me, so I didn't like learn. So I let them do it, a lot of them on themselves. So, okay, Friday is kitchen day. I feel like I used to do Mondays, like I wanted to like do my meal prep or do grocery shopping, but I switched it to Fridays, and it's been really, really good because then I can actually do my grocery shopping on the weekend. So what I do is I clean through my kitchen, I clean through my refrigerator on Fridays. And one tip that I like is if you guys have lemons, if you slice them up into a bowl and microwave them for 2 to 3 minutes, it's going to take out all that like gunk and grime, and it's so easy to just use your cloth and clean it off. So I normally, I do left from right, but I start with my microwave and my stove, and I start letting I put on here too, like remove your burner grates, and then you use baking soda and you spray vinegar onto it, or you can even just use this stuff and let that sit while you're cleaning the rest of your kitchen. Yeah. I wash them in the sink. So what I use, I have, even at like the dollar store, they have like those little scrubbers, like the wire scrubbers. Those are really, really great. Like I love the dollar store for so many things. Like I even have like a toilet brush in my sink. It's like for bottles, but my husband's like, ew, what's a toilet brush? I'm like, no, it's not. So, okay. So, yeah, so weekends, then I use, again, set your timer for your kitchens. If you guys are tuning me out and you're like, you don't even know what my kitchen looks like, I have like 1,000 dishes piled up in there and I have so much laundry. Stick to the schedule and you will catch up, okay? You don't have to do it all in 1 week and stress yourself out. Just do little bits at a time and you will catch up and you don't have to have that stress. Okay, so weekends I use that to meal plan, get my groceries, do the yard work, and then if I can, get to the garage and car. If you guys have seen my car, I actually mop it because I have the big, huge van, so like I have to like get in there and mop it. All right, so yeah. Let's see, how are we doing on time? Okay, I want to get to like organization stuff too. Like, I don't know about you guys, but like paper clutter stresses me out. I feel like it's just constant, right? We have mail, we have all of our kids' crafts and stuff. One thing that I've really, really liked that we started doing is getting like a kids' portfolio. So instead of having like 5,000 different colored sheets everywhere, when they want to color or do something, they have their portfolio that they can color in and do one page at a time. Or if they bring something home from church or something or school, then you can like put it into that thing. And there's also, I wish I forgot it, but it's It's a box for kid stuff, and it's like I'll have to post it too, but I put all of their baby stuff in there, all of their special little things. I just keep it all in that little box, and it goes through their school years. So I'll have to post that for you guys too. Okay. Another thing that I love, like one of my items that I love, is our air purifiers. That's going to help you with your dusting and germs. I have one. I'll post all this stuff of the favorite things that I like. But air purifiers in our kids' bedrooms has been like. Has anybody tried those before? They are so awesome. Like, I feel like it's helped with our sick seasons and especially with dusting. Okay. So basically, I actually did a, research, I don't know. I asked people if they have somebody that they use for cleaning and how much they pay per month. So the average family in Temecula pays $125 to $350 per month. Okay, so that's $1,500 to $4,000 a year that they could be saving. And that's what I did have a cleaning person at one point. And you know what? Sometimes it's okay. I'll get to that. But with that money, I'm thinking I would rather put aside some time to get this cleaning done myself. But as I was reading from the Proverbs 31. Proverbs 31 woman, did you know that she had maids? Did anybody know that? Yeah, it actually says that. So she had maids, but if you think about it, so do we. We have our dishwasher, we have a washing machine, we have an Instant Pot. Who has a Roomba? Like those, I have a Roomba. I love my Roomba. Oh, but she does kind of ruin stuff. But yeah, the Roomba is awesome. So anyways, in our way, we have our maids, but so let's put them to work, okay? The biggest thing I want to challenge you is use your hands. Don't be afraid to get dirty, to get on the floor. Try that challenge and like actually scrub your floors. And I'm telling you, it really is, I don't know. I feel like it just reminds me, like, seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be added to you. Matthew 6:33. If we change our hearts on what the stuff that we have to do, our work, this is our work, even as mundane as it is. I just feel like you will be rewarded for that. And we're in a tough season too. Like, I'm not saying that your house has to be perfect all the time. Like, we're so busy, and our number one priority should be to love the Lord and to love our families. And there's just sometimes you can't get to it, and it's okay. But I want to encourage you to not just let it be a season and not to continue on in that, because it's so easy to just stay in that routine and just to get frustrated then with our spouse when they leave their underwear on the floor, when it's like your hamper is right there and the underwear is like, why does that happen? But if we have a heart to serve and say, okay, we are going to do this out of love, then it's going to change everything. So anyways, I'm out of time, but I will post a lot more stuff for you guys. I wish that I had more time to share with you, but I think Kelsey is next. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I'll be here. I'm just going to leave my stuff. Yeah, go ahead. Oh, here. I'll post it on the Facebook page. Is that okay?
Hello. Is this working? That shocked me. Okay, I don't have a lot of time, so I'm going to be going really fast. I don't know how, 15 minutes to talk about, one of my life's passions. I don't have enough time. I'm going to try to go through, 3 main points, and I'm just going to go. I had to take out, all my Bible verses, all the references. Ask me later, because I don't got time. And I'm not really here to give a Bible study. I'm doing practical tips, and that's really hard because I feel like everything's so intertwined. But so I'm going to kind of go over some of the main problems. I think when it comes to finances, don't everybody conveniently get up and go to the bathroom right now. It's like, it's boring. Nobody really wants to deal with it. And usually there's a problem, and I think not figuring out what your exact problem is usually part of the problem. And money issues are usually the symptoms of another problem. Like, your income usually is not the problem. You have something else. So I'm going to go over the 3 main roots that cause financial issues. The first is perspective problems, people problems, and process problems. One of those is very easy to fix. The other two, not so much, and I'm not actually even going to talk about them really at all, other than like two little snippets just to give you ideas that you might have if those might be your problem areas. And I'm really going to talk about process problems because that's the one I'm good at, and I can help you with that. So obviously perspective problems, that's how you think about money. A lot comes into play, like how you were raised to deal with money, whether you had godly or ungodly role models. You might think having money is bad, having money is good, or, poor people are lazy, that's why they have no money, or, rich people are scammed the system and that's why they're wealthy. There's all these things that each one of us has a different perspective on money. And some of the clues to this is if you are apathetic, that's the why bother, that's not my job, procrastination, victim thinking, if my circumstances were different, better, denial, and then usually a general host of other excuses. I'm bad at math, that's my husband's job. There's like all these kinds of things. In perspective problems, I'm going to refer you to the Bible. Because like 99.9% of perspective problems, in light of the truth of God's word, can be solved. And then if you do need some help with some explanation, I would send you to a godly mentor. You have mentor moms at your table. There's a host of other very qualified people at the church that can kind of help you figure that out. I think once I kind of said some of those things, one of you be like, oh, I do that. I think it's easy when someone kind of points out the problem. It's like with your kids. You're like, oh, my kid does that. How did you fix that? So there's that. I'm going to kind of move on because I don't have much time. The next is people problems, which is self-explanatory, and usually this kind of is a husband and wife issue. For those of you that are single, everything's got its pros and cons. But usually if you have trust or respect or communication issues within your marriage already, it's going to be very difficult to be unified on financial decisions. Almost impossible. You're going to need to take care of the other problems that you're already having in your relationship in order to even get to that financial stuff. Again, I will refer you to a counselor here at church. That's just not my gift, okay? We're going to move on to what I do well, which is, I'm trying not to insert my foot in my mouth up here, okay, is process problems. So this is where I'm going to spend the majority of my time. If you want a different life, you have to do something different. It's that old saying, like the definition of insanity, it's doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. So you have to do something different. And then usually process problems is where people kind of get hung up, and I don't want you to get stuck here. Usually, and the problem is generally because there's just so many choices. People are like, which budget method? I don't know. Which debt relief method should I use? Whose advice should I take? Kind of those kinds of things. There's just too many choices. It becomes overwhelming. My thing is you walk into like a grocery store and there's like 8 different kinds of apples. You don't go like, oh, I'm so overwhelmed. We just don't buy any food today. It's like, okay, you're going to pick one and then you take it home. And if you try it and if you didn't like it, the next time you go to the store, you're going to choose something different. So it's not a really of like a do or don't. You just got to keep trying until something kind of fits. So it kind of takes a little bit of work. This is a process, not an event. So like for instance, a budget isn't a one-time thing. This is like a new habit. The same goes for like healthy living habits and eating, things like that. Habits take time to develop. So you're going to need to give yourself some time, figure out what might exactly work for you, and give yourself grace. You're going to mess it up. Go ahead, I'm going to be the downer on that one. But you're going to mess it up, and you just need to give yourself some time, probably about 3 to 4 months, to see any significant progress. And so my process problems, I have 3 things that I think are essential to controlling your finances. Some people kind of might think my method is a little bit backwards, but once I kind of figured it out, it just seemed like it clicked and everything just worked better together once I did this. So my number one thing, I'm like actually rarely even going to talk on money because I think, like I said, your problem is usually something else. And I think one of the biggest things that people have a problem with your budget or your finances is you have bad time management, which poor time management leads to wasteful spending. And there's kind of two things to this. Either you get stuck in, I don't have enough time, so it leads to like excessive convenience purchases, like fast food because we don't have time to make dinner, or miscellaneous purchase items like Johnny needs a red shirt for school tomorrow, and I knew 3 weeks ago, but now I'm buying it, right now online tonight, fast shipping, those are kinds of things. Not enough time. And then the other one to that is you have too much time. So you're spending out of boredom or impulse purchases or activities to keep you and your kids from being bored. I wouldn't say like leisure purchases, like, oh, we just have time to kill. Let's go to the coffee shop and everybody gets cake pops and, those kinds of things. You're going to end up spending a lot more money out of boredom. So what I do to solve my process problem of bad time management is once I finally figured out having a calendar, I thought that was like an old lady thing. And I was like, oh, I can keep all that in my mind. Like, I don't need one of those weird calendar things with this lady that carries it around your purse. Yes, you do. Because I have like one of the best memories, and if I need a calendar, you all need a calendar. So I do mine in 1 month chunks. This worked good for me. I was trying to do like a week planning, and then I did 2 weeks, and it's like you always felt like you were, I'm not planned out enough. So I just I got a big calendar. You can buy them at like TJ Maxx for like $12. And I plan my whole month. I sit down, get my husband's schedule. What do we got? Growth group and church and Moms Inspired and sports, gymnastics, whatever it is you have that week, write it all out, and then be realistic on, can I make dinner that night? You just got to really planning that out. How long does it take me to drive there? Do we need to pack a lunch? Those kinds of things, just really the pre-planning was something that really helped me stay on track. I also do monthly meal planning. I kind of do it all in one day. It takes me 2 to 3 hours. It's a little bit of chunk of time, but it saves us a ton of money and my sanity. So it's not very chaotic any longer. I said I did my meal planning that way, yep. And never shop without a list. That's just a little tip. Don't go into a grocery store. I have actually gotten comments at Costco because I'll walk out with 3 things. And they're like, I don't know how you did that. And I was like, yeah, because it's written on this piece of paper and I was not coming out with anything else. I'm going to move on to the next. My next foundational point, because I find there's no point really in doing a budget without, if you can't manage your time and keep some of your other, poor spending under control, your budget's kind of pointless at this point. I think time management is like a foundational key to this. My other one too is goals. My husband and I had a hard time with this. We didn't, it was actually, we each had our own perspective problem. And once we kind of figured that out, then we could team together and be like, okay, our problem wasn't the finances necessary, we had a perspective problem. I'm not a super goal-oriented person. I don't need a goal to want to get to the ending. I'm fine with just putting money in a bank account, and it doesn't have to have a specific purpose to me. To my husband, it did. He didn't see the point of, well, why just put it in there if we don't know what we're going to use it for? And I said, just because it's right, and we should just do it that way. And he's like, well, I want to know, what are we going to get to do with it? And I was like, what does it matter? So when we figured out where we were going wrong, we could make a goal and work on that. So goals too need to be, and that's what makes doing a budget fun. Once you get to that, because it's like, oh, I have a purpose in this. So goals, you can look them up online. It's called the SMART method, where it's like an acronym, and it stands for specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. I won't go too much into it, but it's like we usually set our goals at the beginning of every year. We sit down and we go over spiritual goals, personal goals, financial goals, family goals, just different things. And we used to just be like, we want to buy a house this year. And And it's like, okay, well, we get to the end of the year and we would have never got that goal thing that we put down because we didn't specify exactly what kind of house, how much money does that house cost? You know, those kinds of things. There needs to be a way, that's what your specific goal is. Why? I'm kind of like, you know, the goal wouldn't be just to, I would like to read more. Okay, well, how much do you want to read? What types of books are you going to read? Measurable, you need to be able to track your success in that. There needs to fill in a graph chart. I don't know what you want to do, how you want to do that. There's lots of different ways. And achievable, you need to have action steps on how you're actually going to do that. Like, for instance, the books. Okay, well, do I need to borrow them? Do I need to buy them? Do I got to find them free online? Like, you have to have actual steps. And realistic. Realistically, could you read a book a month, a book a day? You know, I'm just going on the books thing. I don't even like reading. It was working for me right there. You know, so you can't just say, I want to read more. You've got to really be specific and realistic, and can I actually do that? And then timely. You need to have like a timeline, time limit to your goal. And I think that really just gets you fired up. So, and you can make it fun. I have some friends that I know, and they printed out pictures. So her husband wanted to like save for a new truck. So he printed out the picture and he had like a commissions job. And so he put that picture of the truck like right on his little computer. And so like, oh, my commissions, you know, that's what I'm working towards. Or maybe if you have a problem in spending, like tape a picture of your family to your debit card. So every time you pull it out, does this help my family? You know, maybe get a little creative with that one. So, and then we're just going to have to skip some things. Just remember, we're moving on. I don't have enough time. I'm going to get to my third thing that's important, which is the budget. A dollar can only work for its master. If you choose to spend your dollar, it no longer works for you because you are no longer its master. Stop making other people wealthy. Take control of yourself and your money. Like Jessica said, I'm actually a Dave Ramsey certified master financial coach. Doesn't mean a whole lot, except I paid a lot of money for his name on a piece of paper. But there's a saying that he says, and it says, if you don't tell your money where to go, you'll always wonder where it went. So make your dollars work for you, not somebody else. We need to be purposeful. The purpose of a budget isn't to be restricting. Their purpose is to give you permission to spend. So that's a really like mindset perspective changing thing. That these are actually something good for you. You made the budget, you put the money, you said you could spend it, like go ahead and you can do that. I don't have any problem with that. Some of my advice on budgets is everybody's budget is going to look different, but based on your family and your priorities. Every single one of us is going to have different things. Some people have pets or food allergies. You're going to have a different grocery budget, family size. Some of your goals are going to play into that. My advice is just use a budget, first off. And I suggest a zero-based budget. I'm pretty sure all of us, you're adults, you know what a budget means and is. But take your income minus your tithes and your savings and your fixed expenses, variable expenses, and at the bottom it should say zero. If you end up having more, you need to assign that money a place and a purpose. And then if you have a negative number, well, we got to go back and we got to do some work. Reevaluate. I'd automatically kind of maybe go up to your goals because it's probably the quickest way. Some of your fixed bills you're not going to be able to change. Some of your variable bills you might not realize that you actually have more wiggle room than you do. I would go look at those goals and work out accordingly. I do suggest, just my one little pet peeve thing is take your tithe and your savings and set those aside first. You will never have enough money for either one if you wait till the end of the budget. My one thing is to pay yourself first. That's what your savings is. You pay yourself by saving money so you don't have to borrow. Don't work for free. Nobody likes to work for free. You don't want to be a slave to somebody else. So pay yourself, pay God first, and then do your tithe, and then your savings. So my suggestion on budgets is just pick one. This is how I suggest you do it. go on Pinterest and type in zero-based budget, and out of the first 10, pick the prettiest one. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, they're all very similar. They're not gonna be much different from each other, so pick one that's pretty. Print it out. I didn't even print any because I think you can go home and do it yourself. So, and I would just suggest that maybe look at one or two others, just in case there was like a budget category or item that was missing maybe from the one you printed. Like I said, pets before. Sometimes it's not always. There's a few things that might not be on one to the next. Sorry, I'm gonna have to skip some stuff. Yep, so just pick one and get started. Remember, you're probably gonna kind of mess it up. But after like a month or two, you're gonna start realizing, oh, we don't spend that much on groceries, or oh my gosh, we spend like 4 times as much on groceries than I realized we did. And then things will start evening themselves out. I've got a few minutes. I'm gonna go into, if you've examined all your problem areas, your perspective problems, people problems, and your process problems, and if you've kind of figured that out, you got that going, and if you're still coming up short and not have enough money, I'm going to suggest you watch out for some of those little, Dave Ramsey likes to call them budget busters. They add up really fast. It's usually never the big expenses that kill you, because you're kind of always like very aware of those ones. It's always the small things. And I saw this meme thing the other day, and it was like, what does it take to waste $10,000 in a year? And I was like, I don't know, I can't do the math in my head. It's only $27 a day. Like, barely anything. That's only like $180 a week. You could do that at Costco or at Target, like, in an hour, like nothing. So it's just those little purchases. Even a few little purchases at like 2 or 3 different stores could get you $27 in a day. And that's $10,000 a year. That's crazy. Watch out for triggers. Don't shop to make yourself feel better, or shop for your kids. Don't buy affection. It's really don't shop at that time of the month. Like, if, pay attention to that kind of stuff. That's why it should be on your planner. Write it down. Pay attention to when you are more prone to spending. Really watch your food and food bill. That's one where people are spending an ungodly amount of money, and like convenience stuff. People shopping for you. I'm not saying any of these things are wrong, but if you're needing money, these are usually where some of like those hidden costs just add up. Like bottled water, the average person for about a year spends like $720 on bottled water. And that's if you're barely drinking the amount of water that you should be drinking a day. Get like a $50 filter, plug it on your sink. Like, that'll save you a lot of money. One of my other things I do for budgets is I actually try to make a lot of my variable items, sometimes fixed costs, if I can explain this correctly, and I spread them out over the whole year instead of just trying to save for something in 1 month. So like Amazon, car registration, AAA, back to school, flu season, vacations, birthdays. I take like how much I want to have that year in like certain months, and I just split it across the month. So this makes sense. Like, I want $700 for a vacation in October. Okay, so from January to October, how much do I need to save each paycheck? And then I just put that like straight in our savings account. I keep a separate savings account for all those things, and I just write on a piece of paper what's kind of like in that account, so I know. Instead of like, wow, we have so much money, and it's like, well, no, it has a purpose. We're using that for something else. My husband's always like, we have so much money. I was like, no, we don't. That's for your car insurance. Yeah. Another one too is if you have bank fees, check your bills. This is where a lot of people get stuck with a lot of fees and things they're not paying attention to. Bank fees, you should not have a bank fee. I used to work for Wells Fargo. There's so many ways that you can get around and have free accounts. You need to go in and talk to somebody. I would really just even take like a week and go through each bill that you have and make sure that you're being charged the correct amount. One time, our toilet was leaking, and my water bill was like a lot higher, and I wasn't even paying attention. I was just like, well, that's what it says, so I must owe that much money. And I happened to call one day, and she's like, yeah, you guys are using like excessive water. And I was like, well, I don't know how. And she's like, well, one of the biggest things is like people's toilets like slowly leak, and you don't even hear it. And it was like $100 I was paying a month for like a slow toilet leak. Like, so some things that you just gotta, call and make sure you're paying like the average amount for some of these things. Check your insurances, check apples to apples. And then sell some stuff if you really are getting down to it. We've got tons of stuff like Sam was saying, we have tons of stuff in our house. If you need money, like you probably could find 10 things that you could sell for $5-10 and have like $100 in a week. If that's where if you're really needing to make up some of that money. So my takeaway is figure out your problem areas and make some changes and focus on solutions, not mistakes. A repeated mistake is a choice, and you have a choice. You can go home and you can decide to do nothing, and you're grown adults. Just own that choice. Okay, I'll be done. Kelsey is next.
It's so hard to do all of this in like however many minutes we have. I have my clicker with me. There's so many things that I was going to point on. I'll just touch on this one, tying into what Aubrey was saying. I put on there a recipe. There's a few of those recipes. I do not buy Eggo waffles for my children as much as they love them because it costs like $3 a box, and they go through a box in about a morning and a half. So I put that on there. I also will not buy a jar of tomato sauce because I can make it on my own and buy it at Aldi for 49 cents or less. I think it's even sometimes 30 cents for like 8-ounce tomato sauce. And I just cannot justify buying that at Albertsons for like $5. It literally kills my soul. So I am a person who budget it. Literally, this is why I meal plan is I was driven by budget reasons, and I'll get into that in a minute. But I'm like Aldi, Winco, those are your like best friends places. So I am a firm believer in Aldi, and they're opening one in Murrieta, and I am so excited. So, and I have changed some of your minds. I promise you, it's worth the 25-cent quarter thing. They have 2 kids can fit in their grocery carts. So they had me. It's like a Costco cart at Aldi at a grocery store. So anyway, I was going to go into all this beautiful stuff about how it's extremely important. Sally Clarkson has amazing books. Creating Life-Giving Table is an intentional act of gathering, blessing, eating, sharing, and serving. She also goes in about like why it's a place where your family can come and gather. And in our culture, we've kind of just gone on that fast pace. It's important to bring families together at least a couple times a week. Like hear your kids out, talk to your children. Sit down, have a meal, teach them to pray. There's so many things that can happen at the table. And also I was going to go into, that was how they built fellowship in Luke 2. They built the church by breaking bread with one another. And that's a sign I have in my kitchen because I love it and it's awesome. And I'm a foodie, and the Lord is a foodie too. So the life-giving table, the life-giving home, these are suggestions. She does not... it's not about being Martha Stewart in the Christian home. It's about being purposeful for your family and just how to bring goodness into your home, which is really what our whole talk is about. So I am not a Martha Stewart pretty person. Sometimes I can appear to be, sometimes I try to be, but this is how I meal plan. I meal plan on just a notebook, piece of paper. I was going to bring you my 3-ring binder is how I just sit down with my 3-ring binder every time. I write the name of the month at the top and I go down the date. I used to only do one grocery trip, like one big one a month. And people used to be like, what the heck? And I remember Aubrey was the first person who did it that way. And I was like, yes, I have a person who does it with me. And I promise you, you think I'm insane, but it actually works. It takes time and planning. But you will save so much money because I am an impulse shopper. So unlike Aubrey, if I do not go into my list, like there is a good amount of time I'll have at least 2 more items than 3 in my Costco basket. But I will go and spend $100 like that and be like, oh, it's this. Oh, that's 5 cents for this. And it's 10 cents for that. And all of a sudden you're like, hey, like those bags of grapes at the grocery store, you go, oh, it's 59 cents a pound. That's so awesome. What a great deal. And in my brain, I'm like, it's 50 cents. in the actual ounces that you're paying, it's like $3 or $4 because there's like 3 or 4 pounds usually in one of those bags. So that's another tip. So anyway, why meal plan? I'm driven by budget reasons. That's my number one. It helps with food waste, and it helps you not to stare at the refrigerator when you are like, what in the heck? My husband comes home in 30 minutes and I have no idea what I'm going to do. And I want to pretend that I at least, it's like, I don't know about you, but when my husband comes home, I'm like, I really did clean and I really did cook and I really did do a bunch of things that it doesn't look like I did any of that. But my husband is very gracious and he's very, good encourager, and he's like, I know, I've been alone with them too. You've done great, anything like that. So this is a way for you to be like, look, I have a meal for you. Yay! So I write out my calendar days. So I go down the list. I say February 1st, 2nd, 3rd, whatever. This is like a little close up to it. I'll go back through and realize what's in my brain. If it's helpful to you, you can have an actual calendar, which is sometimes helpful to me. But I'll go through and be like, oh, Saturday is the first Sunday, so I'll write little days next to it. I'll usually put a line through the bottom, like if there's a paycheck that I'm trying to get to, I can like, okay, I know at this date I will have at least more money in the bank. I can go and do another big trip or so. And then on my other side is where I'll put in things like Mom's Inspired Breakfast, something that I have going on. I'm going to a Super Bowl party. I am going to be eating eggs for breakfast. I'll do breakfast notes there. I'll do special holiday notes there, things like that, just so that I'm mindful. And that's where it comes into planning. I know I'm going to the zoo on that day, so I'm not going to be cooking that day. I cannot have a meal that's going to require time for me to be in the kitchen because it's just not going to happen. So that's either got to be a leftover day or a sandwich day, something really easy. What I do first is when I go in the dates is I'll find what meals are going to last me multiple days. So I know my lasagna will last for a while. My lasagna lasts for a while. My meatloaf lasts for a while. So I know in my head, if I cook these meals, I will get at least 2 days out of them, as long as my amazingly fit and incredibly, I don't even know his metabolism. My husband's metabolism is insane. And sometimes I'm like, no, that has to last us 2 days. Like, no more lasagna for you. So that was one of those like perspective problems where I was like, yes, I am cooking and we've learned to communicate in the kitchen where I'm like, why did you eat that? I was making something with it. So anyway, communication with your spouse is very, very important when it comes to that. Also, you can stretch meals like chili. You can serve over hot dogs, potatoes. You can do it with sweet potatoes. You can do it with cornbread. You can take leftover pork, and it can become a taco. It can become a burrito. It can become a salad. Pot roast can become shepherd's pie. So be creative if you're not someone. I know my kids, like 2 days in a row, they're like, we had this yesterday. And I'm like, that's what's for dinner. Like, I also do not cook to order with my children. I've taught them very young, like, this is what I'm having. When they are old enough, Haven's almost old enough, I'm going to be like, you can make yourself a sandwich. This is what we're having. So I try really hard to keep them like nutritionally. I try hard to serve them foods that I know they like carrots. I know they like broccoli. I'm not going to sit there and make them eat spinach and lima beans. But I'm like, you usually eat this, so you're going to eat this. And that's just kind of the battle. I give them choices at lunch and I give them choices at breakfast. I also want to tell you that I don't meal plan. I have a friend who meal plans literally like every snack, every breakfast, everything. And I want to be that one person. I'm a 9-wing, so I'm a huge procrastinator. But I have that one part of me that loves spreadsheets, and that's the part of me that comes out in this part. But I cannot. I'm like in my brain. I'm like, I just cannot schedule snacks. I just can't. It's just not me. But it does help. The more you plan, the more your money is being very specific to its purpose. So I just keep things on hand that I know will last longer for breakfast. We do special Saturday morning breakfast. There's certain things that I will keep in staple. So when you're making your lists, like keep those in mind, like what you're typically reaching for breakfast and lunch. So then after I've gone in and figured out where my 2 days I can stretch, then I'll go in and fill in, minus like holidays, something where I know I'm going to be out of the house, then I'll fill in those one meal things like steak and vegetables, chicken and whatever meals you make that you know for a fact you're like, that's only going to last one. I might get my husband's lunch out of it the next day, but it's not going to last us 2 days. So go in and fill in that. I also, let's see, I'm like trying to feed you with a fire hose. All right, I keep this on my refrigerator. If there's something, it's like an I'm out of this list type of thing. They have them at random places. I don't know. I have one that I keep on my refrigerator, and I keep a pen in that drawer next to it. And anytime I run out of something, I immediately put it down so I know that I need that. And then also, if I happen to grab that recipe, then I'm like, I have to buy this ingredient. So that is that. Shop from your house first. So you have this list you know you're going to have to use. Let me get to that in a second. So tie ingredients together. So plan around what you have. I have so many cans of beans. I never use those. Plan something with beans that you can use. I never ended up using that couscous last month. Plan something around the couscous. You can say, oh, that's kind of Mediterranean. Let me do a lemon chicken with the couscous. So try to tie things together that you already have in your pantry. I also will do things, for example, I have a soup recipe that takes 1/4 of a cabbage. And it's like, what do you do with the 3/4 of the cabbage? You make coleslaw. And I'm like, oh, what can I make coleslaw with? What goes well with coleslaw? Pulled pork. There's 2 meals planned already that you have that you can share ingredients with. So you're not going to the store and buying like, that's like, to me, that's not what meal planning is. As much as I would love to be a gourmet chef and be like, today we're having French cuisine and this day we're having that. But most of the time I'll go in, if there's something I know for sure I want to make, then I'll try to make things around that. If you like cut from the coleslaw, I know I'm going to need buttermilk. With buttermilk, I can make a breakfast thing that my kids really like. There's birthday pancakes they really love. If I'm grabbing provolone cheese to use for a Philly cheesesteak sandwich, I'm now going to make French onion soup the next, like a couple days later, because I can use the same cheese on top of that soup. Buns can be used for hamburgers, sloppy joes, pulled pork, sandwiches. You can make sandwiches for your kids in their lunch with hamburger buns. You can also flip them over, and now it's 2 mini pizzas if you got a little cheese. So there's like a million things you can do with simple things that don't require like 1,000 ingredients. So think outside the box. Think how you can reuse your leftovers, but sit down and be purposeful with it. I pull out my recipe books. I pull out Pinterest. I am a huge Pinterest fan, and it's not just because in my brain I want to be that crafty, magical person that lives in Pinterest land. I want to be that person, but I also have a specific, that is called this month. That's my board for this month. I will pull and put recipes in there that I know I'm going back to that I use a lot. I'll just keep them. I literally can pull it up on my phone. I can, if I forgot to write down an ingredient when I'm shopping, I can pull it up there. That works better if there's like recipes that you go to a lot there. If I go all the time, like that waffle, I have a waffle recipe for you. I pull that up so many times. I finally just printed it out. I'm like, this is silly for me to keep going on my phone. I'm just going to keep it in my recipe book. So I also will ask my husband things. What sounds good? Is there something that I make that you really like that you haven't had in a long time? Usually he's like, okay, yeah, I haven't had this in a long time. I really liked when you made that. I try to keep my kids, like a couple times I'll say, like, I keep a list. I'm so sad that I left my 3-ring binder. So I have my notebook paper, my 3-ring binder. I keep categories in there, what my kids' favorites that if they make a comment at dinner or something like, oh mom, like Haven loves my chicken pot pie. So that went on like, this is Haven, she loves that. So I keep a mental and actually written down list of things that my kids are interested in. It can backfire on you because one day they like chicken nuggets and tomorrow they don't. So you just got to be mindful and keep track of like things that your family enjoys. So I'll do breakfast for dinner. I'll do kids' choice. things like that. I'll ask some of my family, like as I'm planning, not like the morning of. Another option is you can plan by days. So I have a couple friends who do this, and I've actually incorporated a few of those, like meatless Mondays. Every Sunday is pasta or noodle night. If you do pasta or noodle, if you keep it at pasta or noodle night, sorry, I'm blah, 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 blah. It can be Asian, it can be Italian. It doesn't matter what you're feeling like that week or the next week. You can meal plan 2 weeks at a time. You can meal plan 1 week at a time. You can meal plan a month at a time. But it's very, very helpful. You can do Taco Tuesdays. You can do soup and sandwich night. You can do soup and salad night. You can do just sandwich night. Like I said, breakfast for dinner is always a popular one. You can do, one of my friends does, there's always chicken on Sunday. It doesn't matter. Sometimes it's Mexican, sometimes it's Italian, but it's always chicken, always ground turkey, things like that. So she just alternates through different ingredients. If you do a meatless night, usually that cuts down a large, protein is really one of the more expensive costs. So if you cut down your protein to plant-based or a different source, you might save money in that way. I rarely cook with beef. Like I'll make steak, I'll do things like that, but I almost always cook with ground turkey because it tastes exactly the same. And it's usually $3.99 versus $5.99. So I didn't eat red meat for like 7 years of my life, late teens and early adulthood. And I remember I called my mom. I was like, I can't have any of our family favorites anymore. And she's like, yes, you can. I use turkey. And I was like, oh, well, there you go. So try cooking with turkey. To me, it's tastes exactly the same. I never have an issue with that. Because I'm a crazy person and I do 1 month at a time or whatever, put fresher needs first. So do your salads, do your stuffed peppers, do your things that are really specific to fresh produce. Do that earlier in your meal planning so that you know, hey, I have to use this by that time. Store your frozen vegetables and things like that you can do. Do that later in the month or later in the week so that you don't have to go to the store 1,000 times. When I prep my chili, I freeze my meat. I cut all the vegetables up. I don't do a bean chili. I do a veggie chili. I just cut everything up, prep it, put it in the freezer. It's going to sit in sauce for a really long time anyway, so it doesn't matter if the veggies get a little softer because they're going to be soft anyway. I freeze meat. I portion out my meat, and I freeze it with the marinade so that when I'm thawing the meat, it's marinating with the marinade. So that also saves time. Frozen chicken breast in a crock pot. I put this recipe on there too. You can do 4 chicken breasts in a crock pot with a box of broth and a jar of salsa. And then by the end of the day, you have a base for a chicken tortilla soup. All you have to do is add in tortilla and any toppings that you want. It's super fast, it's super easy, and it's super cheap. And it's fairly healthy. I always keep onion, carrots, celery, and garlic on hand because you can make anything out of those most of the time, and it will always smell good. Also, keep 3 or 4 stable shelf meals around. Grab pasta, grab whatever, because if life happens, there might be traffic, there might be a doctor's appointment that you don't expect. You might have planned this whole entire meal and you're like, it's beautiful, but then you don't get to it. That's where it's beautiful, because then for next month, you already have a meal that has probably a majority, probably at least 70% of the ingredients that you already needed. You have them on hand already. So you might only have to go buy 1 or 2 more things. If you're in a rut, use Pinterest. I plan meals around St. Patrick's Day, Cinco de Mayo, Mardi Gras. You can do New Orleans stuff. There's all kinds of things that you can do. I watch the Food Network a lot. I love it so much. So that's basically it. And if I'm kind of fed you with the fire hose, so there's a whole lot that I wanted to say to you guys, but I want to leave this with you. So these are encouraging scriptures. So a wise woman builds her home, a virtuous homemaker. She's resourceful, she organizes, she budgets, she cooks. This is all in the Bible, Proverbs 31, and then in Titus 2. It's like we're called to work in our homes. It's different for everyone. Some of us work, some of us are stay-at-home moms, but we set the temperature of our home and we bring goodness into our home. So utilize those encouraging. Like these women did that, and you can start very simply. It's not about being Martha Stewart. It's about being purposeful and just being present and mindful of your family.